Thanks for setting aside time. I know on City Commission Mondays, you're probably swamped, but we certainly appreciate your time. And like Elizabeth Taylor told her eighth husband, we won't keep you long. How's that?
That's what I'm talking about.
But lots of stuff going on. There wasn't a City Commission meeting the last time, so there really isn't an update from that meeting. Thank you for tuning in. In the last few weeks, we've had Commissioner Mullally on there, James Manus, Jamie Luffman, and if that Jay Leno and David Letterman thing doesn't work out, we got Jamie Luffman to fill in. He's a piece of work. So lots going on, and some good news coming with our sales tax collections, and a couple of articles I'll mention affecting Mount Juliet in the National Business Journal the last few days. But how are you doing, Kenny? Take it away.
I'm doing great. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. It's beautiful weather. Hopefully you got some rain where you're at. Hey, I can see y'all now. I couldn't see you before. I can see Mark anyways.
Aha.
No, it's a great weekend. I hope everybody else had a good weekend as well.
Think so. We pretty well got everybody muted, and don't forget, we're recording this just like Travis over at City Hall. If you missed the commission meeting or any other meeting, go on the city's website, go back and then dig it out of the archives. And Marla's doing the same thing for us. So what you say may be held against you in the court of public opinion on down the road, everybody. Kenny, what's new?
Well, just I'll start off with the sales tax. Very exciting news about that. You know, we were down in March, we were down in April, and we expected that. But I definitely did not expect the numbers we got for May. To be honest with you, not so much so that I spent most of last week trying to follow up with the state and through finance. We even reached out to a couple other cities, and we were able to determine that some of the other cities were way up as well, and we felt pretty confident those numbers were solid. So, what everybody's doing out there, keep it up, especially the shopping local, because it's making a tremendous difference.
Do you think that the longer they keep things shut down in Metro, the better it is for retail sales tax collections in the donut county?
I do, Mark. I think so. And you hate that for Nashville, okay, of course. But if the folks are coming from Nashville out here to shop and patronize our businesses, we definitely appreciate that. And I'm no expert by any means, but everybody's got ideas on what might be creating this. I think a lot of it could be the fact that a large, Mark, you used to always say this, that 50% of our population goes to Nashville every day to work. Well, a lot of folks, including my son, he thinks that he may be made permanent working from home because of what he does. Well, if a lot of other people are working from home, then they're eating lunch at home and shopping at home and things of that nature. So I think that's got a big impact on it as well.
Well, there's going to be even more places for us to spend our money because one at a time to the
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're working hard behind the scenes. It may not look like it. I went to my grandson's baby dedication yesterday. And of course, we all wore a mask and everything, and everybody at the church wore their mask. And this is for our second grandbaby. Our other was about 2.5 years ago. And then we've got a third coming in January. And while we were over there, they wanted to go eat lunch afterwards, of course, wearing masks. They go to church in Rutherford County. And we went to a place called McAllister's. And I thought, we've been sort of talking to them about Mount Juliet. And I got to looking around the restaurant. I said, well, this would be perfect in that other square footage left over from Logan's. So we're working hard behind the scenes. It may not look like it, but each and every one of you out there, and I know Mark does a big portion of that, is doing economic development in some shape, form, or fashion. But there's no better economic development than what we're doing here in Mount Juliet across the board in every way, in my personal opinion. That's what makes the difference. That's what makes people want to come to your community, is the people that are in it and what everybody here is doing. I know it sounds hokey, but it's true. It is so true. The people that I talk to, that we reach out to, they already know about Mount Juliet, and the majority of them are already considering coming here or looking. If it wasn't for COVID, they'd already be here.
A couple of months ago, the tornado was, the day after the tornado, I believe Capstone was set to start on their assisted living at Oak Hall. put that on delay for a little bit. As I understand it, the project's still moving forward, but any time frame on when that project might actually start moving dirt?
Yeah, it is literally any day now, Mark. When I talked to them just a few weeks back, they said the same thing you did because of COVID and the tornado. All that hit back about the time I think they had a tent set up and some chairs and was ready to do their groundbreaking. And because of the business they're in, as you can imagine, they've been quite busy across the country at all their other locations, getting that. You hate to say mastered. It's hard to master anything that's got anything to do with COVID, but I'm sure this was creating some concerns for them for their other facilities, and they are full speed ahead. They're still coming to Mount Juliet. They just haven't rushed it. So literally any day now you could see silt fencing go up. I wish I had a definitive date for you, but unfortunately they wouldn't narrow that down to that point. But they are definitely still coming, and they're also making a contribution to the traffic signal that'll end up going there at some point in the future. They're not paying for the entire traffic light, but as everybody knows, any money you can put toward engineering and design on the front end is a big help in getting support from the state.
Well, they lost a good tent and a bunch of chairs because they had it all set up on Monday, March the 2nd for ribbon or groundbreaking on March the 3rd. So hopefully they got a new tent by now. But will you touch on a couple of other projects there somewhere, either awaiting approval, specifically the Providence Central, that goes up for second and final reading tonight on second reading. And then maybe Legacy Point. I know there's the new bagel shop in Paddocks, and a couple of other ones that folks may not know about.
Absolutely. If Providence Central, my understanding from dealing with the developer and some others, if Providence Central gets approved tonight, then they plan to start immediately on the process, of course, coming back to the Planning Commission with some plans to get that moving forward. And we'll know a whole lot more tonight after the meeting, and I can speak to even more to it. Of course, you all will be watching as well. So I'm hopeful that that gets a positive recommendation. Personally, I understand the concerns, but when I was in Murfreesboro yesterday, like I said, with my grandson, I was looking and there was a lot of similar developments going in there. And to be honest with you, that's a blessing to the community. I know sometimes there's concerns about it, but I can tell you from my history with the city, we've never really had any issues with apartments sold or residential. It's equal in my opinion, and people have to have a place to live, and those are good folks. So I hope the project gets approved, and I know some other folks that I'm working with personally, Class A office related, that already want to go there, but you can't go where there's not infrastructure, and you can't go where there hasn't been any grading. So I think that we'll see a lot of interest, and something else I think we'll see is the future of office. Instead of the days when it was like 200,000 square feet, I think office buildings are going to get smaller. We've got the 75,000 square foot buildings here. A lot of folks say, well, if you go to Cool Springs or Nashville, they've got these massive 200,000 square foot buildings. I don't know that we'll see as many of those in the future. And I think that'll actually bode well for Mount Juliet and Providence Central because of our proximity to the airport and 40. And if you have that ingress egress improved, I think that that'll help us. I really feel that way. If you read a lot of articles that are out recently, you're seeing that that's probably going to be a trend of the future just because of the people working from home so much. Legacy Point, everybody knows Seth McDowell, great guy. Everybody knows the engineers working that project. That's Miss Gore. That's moving full speed ahead, and everybody knows anything that Seth gets involved in is going to be Class A. You know that, Mark, from the building that you're sitting in. No reason to suspect that they're not full speed ahead. For anybody to pull, permits or submit things to the city for rezoning, things of that nature, or actually purchase land, that's got to tell you, especially during the middle of a pandemic, that they mean business. So I'm very excited about that project, and a result of just the buzz going on with that project. We've got other projects across the street that are similar in nature. Everything from, I don't know if this necessarily gets everybody wild, but to me, all business is good business. But convenience markets with gas, fast food restaurants, business centers, offices, things of that nature. I really think Golden Bear is that perfect canvas for us to paint a bright future for Mount Juliet along Golden Bear. And I think you'd asked too about Jersey Oven. That gentleman is a resident here in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. He's replacing the old subway that used to be there. That subway, of course, as we mentioned last Monday, is moving across the street beside Exxon. And I talked to him, and they got everything from homemade bagels of every kind that you can think of, New York style pizza, I think pork rolls. I've never had pork roll, so if there's anybody out there listening this morning that knows what that is, but I will say this from his description, it sounded mighty good, and he'd have hoagies and sandwiches and things of that nature. So really excited for this gentleman, and we're trying to help them every way to get the permitting and things they need to move forward. And Mark, I'll stop for a minute just in case you've got any other questions about some other businesses. I don't want to ramble too much.
That's all right. No, that's good stuff there. Had a few questions. I doubt that Judd has the new two-story office build or two-story little retail going up across from the candle shop, candle station. Popped a little commercial building up right there on Mount Juliet Road. But Vintage Station North is really making hay right now.
They are. As a matter of fact, I talked to Matt Gardner on Friday, with Imagine One, and he's called me this morning right before this meeting started. So I'll give him a call back afterwards. We're working closely together on putting some tenants in that building. I know there's been a lot of buzz about what it was, especially when it went up at first and it was just the one story. It almost looked like an oil change place at first, but now that it's got the 2 stories on it, you can see it's going to look a lot like Judd's building next door. And Judd's also working with them on possible tenants. I don't think it'll take long to fill that building, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a lot like what Judd's doing at Cellar Station across the street. We're already getting a lot of buzz. Of course, everybody knows about the Christmas store and Dunkin' Donuts. We talked about the possibility of Jeremiah's and also the roasted nut shop, which if you've never been to one of those or ever been to the arcade, which is in I call it's close to Printer's Alley, but if you don't know where Arcade is, I believe it's off of 4th Avenue downtown. And when I worked down there years ago, you couldn't walk by that place without wanting to go in it and buy anything. And Mark, you've probably been there. It's a pretty cool place, and I want to say it's been around like 100 years. So to have something similar to that here in Mount Juliet, Tennessee would be pretty cool. But we're getting so much interest from people, like I said, like McAllister's and others, that during the middle of this want to be here, and they're seeing the success of what places like Slim Chickens is doing. And I think that's another trend that you'll see is the downsizing of these restaurants with more of an emphasis on drive-through and double drive-throughs, and their curb service, not as much on. If you go up to look at Slotsky's Deli, you'll notice, they picked that small spot because they love the spot, but they thought there'd be more dine-in. They never expected the COVID. So now you look at it and think, man, if you'd just thought about that on the front end, you could have had 2 drive-throughs like Chick-fil-A. So that's a lot of the folks that we're getting to call us as that style restaurant, which is fine. We're excited about that. And there's some other restaurants that currently exist. For example, like Logan's, we talked about that. ML Rose, which is also in the food truck business, has a couple of Nashville locations. If you hadn't had a chance to check out their website, I encourage you to do so. They're going to take about 6,500 square feet of the old Logan's restaurant, which leaves about 3,000 square feet. And that end of the building is going to be converted and will have a drive-through attached to it. So we feel pretty certain it will not take long at all to find a tenant that wants to plug into that spot and move forward. That's a great location. So I'm really excited about that because you hate to see a big restaurant like that sit long or get boarded up or something like that, just like what we did at the Crystal. Everybody hated seeing that wood on the windows, but we knew in short order we'd put somebody in there. And, it's Hibachi Jr. He's working hard. That's going to be a cool restaurant, and I think it's going to do quite well. And there's many other places like that across Mount Juliet. We've got the Dual Brand Hotel. Bobbin called this morning, oddly enough, right before this meeting, so I had to call him back afterwards. He'll be coming before the City Commission and Planning Commission first, trying to see if he can get a reduction in some of the brick that's required on that building. Unfortunately, as everybody knows, the hotel business is not doing very well right now because a lot of people aren't traveling like they were. So he's looking for maybe just a little bit of relief. And I think he was allowed 20%. I think he wants to get up around 32%. So he'll be coming here soon. And that's probably why you've seen some stagnation on that project.
Hey, thank you for the heads up. Marla, I know somebody had a question, maybe before we get too much farther.
Yeah, Julie wanted to know how much taxes went up, where they were down in March and April and they went up in May.
Yeah, that's a great question, Miss Julie. That basically we were thinking they were going to be quite a bit more in March and in April. We were looking at somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000, and we were actually down about $60,000 in March, and I want to say about 20,000 in April. And I know that sounds odd to go, man, that was a blessing because we thought it was going to be a lot worse. Well, we always compare our numbers, for example, May of this year over May of last year's numbers. So as long as I've been city manager, and even when I was doing economic development, to me, each month I was doing this, I had my fingers crossed because I wanted to make sure, to me, we were successful if the numbers were going up. You know, even if it was $10,000, you wanted to be up over the year before, of course. Well, this year, I'm happy to say that May's numbers for the city of Mount Juliet was up $435,000 over last year's numbers. And those numbers normally only occur at Christmas in this city. And that's only happened about 3 times in our city's history that we've been up that much. And to confirm those numbers, we reached out to Lebanon, and they were way up as well, thankfully. And they were up to the tune of about $271,000. So that's pretty substantial. And again, I think there's a multitude of things that created that. And I hope that continues, to be honest with you. But I do think it's a big part of the chamber's efforts and our local businesses' efforts to emphasize just how important it is to shop in your community. You know, I know I didn't do that yesterday. I felt a little guilty about that, but because of the baby dedication and everybody getting together, that just happened to be where we were at. But it did give me an opportunity as I was in that community to see some things that they're doing, that we're doing, and also unfortunately see some businesses that had closed. So everybody's facing this in Middle Tennessee, and how we recover and how we unite is entirely up to us. And I'm proud of what I'm seeing here.
Julie, just to give you a quick heads up, the county as a whole, Watertown, Lebanon, and Mount Juliet, in March was just about dead even with March of last year. April, they were down about $300,000 in the month of April, which is really March's collections. May was down about another 300,000, but June was up almost $1.5 million in June. So the prosperity seems to be kind of county-wide on this last one. So we're all thankful for that. And I'll always end my remarks in a little bit about shopping local. So thanks for
I
the.
do have another question.
I'm sorry?
There is another question in the chat. Eddie Poole wanted to verify that you said Hibachi Jr. was going into the Crystal building, and then he wants a little more information on Legacy Point.
Okay, yes, Hibachi Jr. is definitely going in. They're doing their build out now, but they're keeping the wood on the outside windows until they're ready to go live, I guess you'd say, simply so that you don't have to worry about, you know, people looking in and seeing what's going on or whatever, and vandalism, things of that nature. But it's definitely going there. As far as Legacy Point, that's going to be a beautiful development. It'll be a mixed-use development to where you've got some retail, you've got some office, and you've got some other mixed use like commercials. The commercial, I don't think is going to be too heavy-handed. And what I mean by that, you know, it's you might have a convenience market or something like that, but for the most part, it's going to be the commercial that you'd see in the Providence area or even along Lebanon Road, the newer type development. So Mr. McDowell does a very upscale and classy development. So I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful, and I think it'll help us set the tone for Golden Bear. Eddie, I know that doesn't give you individual specifics, but it's just not quite at that point yet to tell those anybody that's looking or that's locked in. But it's going to be something we can be very proud of, and it'll have some visibility as well from the interstate, because that acreage runs parallel with the interstate going westbound on the, I think that's the southwest section of the interstate, or this property. So it's about 85 acres. So I'm very excited about it, and especially with this particular developer. You know, sometimes you have developers come along and they look and nothing ever materializes. But again, if Mr. McDowell is taking on the project, you can bet it's going to be a great project. And somebody right before Eddie had asked that question, we're also still in negotiation. I'll just get to going on here that way I don't forget. But the new car dealer, they cleared another hurdle with corporate, and so it's not quite done yet, but I feel really good about it. You know, if you get corporate approval on a new car dealership coming to your community, and you know that the owner wants to be here, then it's just a matter of that owner working with the property owner, finding the right site, making the numbers work, and going from there. And all these I hate to say players, but all these players have been put together, and we've been having multiple meetings. And I can tell you that this particular dealership and this particular owner would be phenomenal for our community. As a matter of fact, they're already wanting to reach out and start partnering with some of our civic organizations and some of our sports organizations like the Mount Juliet High School. So they want to be here. They've got a history with their children here, even though they didn't reside here. Their kids played a lot of sports here in our community. So those are the kind of relationships we're trying to build, because y'all are firm believers, and so am I, that you work the hardest at the most difficult times. If everybody remembers the '08 recession, we're in that now. And we got through that pretty well because everybody hunkered down and worked together and united to get us there. So every day I come in, even if it's a weekend, I'm thinking of folks that we can be reaching out to. If there's a space that goes empty, we're looking at trying to plug somebody else into it. And the one thing that I'm seeing is which is a good trend, is I'm seeing folks that are in the food truck business that are wanting to make that transition to a brick and mortar store, which is awesome. The only problem is, Hibachi Jr. worked out. Sometimes they can't meet those rent rates needed for the space that they need. They have to start out on a smaller scale. So we're working hard on that. And of course, if anybody's been by Amazon, you see how well that's going. If anybody needs a job out there that's listening, or somebody, they're in the process right now as we speak of hiring 1,000 people. So you start thinking about the unemployment rate, and you think of proximity to Nashville. There's a lot of people needing jobs, and Mount Juliet, Tennessee's got them. So I encourage folks to come out here and start applying, or I'm not sure their own sites is going to be. I assume most everything's going to be on a virtual through a web page or something somewhere to sign up for jobs. But I encourage folks listening, or if you know somebody that's looking for a job, to check out their website. But trying to think of a few other things to talk about. It's odd sometimes I get on here unless somebody prompts a question. The Boot Barn Center, as I call it, on Lebanon Road, I know it's got a different name, but that's what's coming to mind. That's coming along quite nicely. We've already got a salon that's going in there, which is nice, and I don't think it'll take long to fill up the rest of that space. The city's still full speed ahead looking at parks property for the city, and I hope I'm still there. My screen went black, but multiple sites that we're looking at now. The city commission, the elected body's gotten really aggressive about looking at property. Am I still on?
Mark, can you tell us a little bit more about where Jeremiah's will be?
The bagel place next to Lowe's.
No, Jeremiah's. I think he didn't say it just now, but I think it's like a snow cone place.
It is a snow cone place. He talked about it Friday.
Yeah.
But I don't recall where he said it was going just yet, that they were just talking about coming.
Yeah. He mentioned it a minute ago, but he didn't expand on it. So
yeah.
Marla, can you unmute Kenny? If not, we'll just end.
I tried. I can't. I think he left. Maybe he's going to try to come back in. No, wait, there he is. Yeah, it won't let me
Hey, Ray, can you hear me? Nod if you can hear me, Ray.
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you, Mark.
Love the YouTube video. If Kenny pops back in, we'll finish, but something that you had sent out on, I guess, on Friday, and there was activity over the weekend on the CARES Act again. Can you just give us a brief update? Waiting on Kenny.
Quickly, hopefully today, I'm going to, once again, I hate to use the R and the D word, but anyway, the R's are supposed to launch their CARES Act out of the Senate today. That's where it will come from. So hopefully McConnell and the folks in the Senate will have that something tangible that we can read today. So it could be another round of economic stimulus to individuals, probably at a lower threshold than it was last time. There is some talk about some additional unemployment, however, not to the tune of $600 a week. That's just too much. Hearing a sliding scale to where they where they wouldn't make more than like 70% of something of what the individual made in the past. So anyway, handful of things could be coming out of the Senate today, and that'll be the R version, and then they'll have to get with the D's. Anyway, the Democrats and Republicans will have to get together to put together, something that they both agree on, pass, and the president sign it. They are anxious to do that. The House is set to wrap up at the end of this week and then be off for the month of August. The Senate wraps up on the 7th, and then they will be off for the rest of the month of August. So I know there's a lot of push to get that done this week.
Very good. Thank you very much. If we don't get done.
Okay. He is logging back on now.
All right.
Tried to log back in with something else.
Ms. Willis, I know you've got questions. I see them on there. We'll try.
I saw he tried to connect the audio and it said he did not connect. Mark, can you maybe text him the phone number where you can call in and hear it?
Yeah, Marla emailed that to him.
Yeah, he has that.
It says he's connected now.
There you go. I don't know what happened, guys. I was talking up a storm and it just went away. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Hey, glad you're back, Ray. Thanks for the quick update on the CARES Act. We'll be following that. Kenny, Miss Phyllis wanted an update on the demolition and removal of the school. And then if you would you touch on the resolution or ordinance tonight to rename Old North Green Hill Road right over there by Tina's place? And then I got a couple of other questions for you too.
Sure. The schools, and talking with Mr. Hall, the holdup has been basically insurance, as you're seeing with a lot of businesses on Mount Juliet Road and some of the homeowners. And a lot of it, for example, is about declaring something, whether or not engineers have to support, have to submit a letter and all that. Of course, those schools are going to go down, but it's only holding up right now is just insurance, and that should be resolved any day now. And if you notice, they've been bringing a little bit more equipment up there on site, so they should actually start some demo here real soon. There's just a lot of things they had to get through on the insurance, and I don't know if there's any asbestos or not in the schools. So that may have been with the time frame that those schools were built at, not necessarily Stoner Creek, but the old junior high probably had some asbestos in it. And what was the other question, Mark? I'm sorry.
The renaming of Old North Green Hill Road is on the, I think it's a resolution that you might have sponsored, actually.
You're talking about from going from Green Hill to Benton Douglas?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, yeah, and that's part of the relocation of the traffic signal as well. In order for the school to open, which they need to open like ASAP. So the city's actually working with them to where, even though the whole school isn't quite ready yet, we're trying to help them get this part of the school open that they'll need to get these kids back in school safely, of course. And so what we're doing is we're working with, there'll be some parts of the school that won't open, the new Green Hill High School, but the parts they need open, we're trying to work with them on to get their permitting out. Well, one of those issues is that the traffic signal has to be in place and the road and be operational when school starts. Of course, as you can imagine, if you didn't have that, it'd be a mess. So that should be done real soon as well. So when they move the light from the current location, that's the reason we want to go ahead and rename the road. That little section of North Green Hill Road by Miss Tina's will still exist, as everybody knows. It just won't have a traffic signal there. So that light will actually be, a new light will be installed down the road, and then we'll be able to use the parts from the old light to use as replacements somewhere else in the city. But there'll be a brand new light going in at North Green Hill Road. So the plan all along was to line those two streets up at Benton Douglas, and that's why that section of the road is being renamed to Benton Douglas. So I hope that made sense. I know that's probably added a little bit more in there than you needed, but just want to let you know we will help the county get that school open. But in order to do that, that road and the traffic signal has to be operational.
You got it.
Kenny, that light is up and it is flashing.
Okay, good. Yeah, and so the good thing about that is they'll do that so long just so that you can get used to it. You notice the other light's probably still in place and serving the purpose it was serving before, but it will eventually go away unless for some reason or another Mr. Barlow works with the state and they feel like it's best to leave the both in place. But I don't see that happening. Last time we talked, that light would come out and then the new one would go operational. So look for that to go live here real soon, just as soon as people get acclimated to it.
Would you talk real quick about two other things? One kind of looks like a standstill on the sidewalks on Lebanon Road, and I see there's Commissioner Giles has an amendment with TDOT tonight on the sidewalk project on Lebanon Road, and then also you can tease us with why there's a proposed ordinance tonight to raise the height limit for transient housing within a half a mile of the Music City Star, and that has a code name hotel written all over it.
Yeah, the hotel ordinance or the change or the request would be for something. If everybody remembers when the Christmas store broke ground, if you remember, they wanted to add a hotel. That was one of the things that they mentioned there. COVID sort of put that on the back burner. But in order for something like that to happen, of course, you have to change the ordinance allowing for higher height Vendor Station North was able to do that across the street. And if you remember, they wanted to do 5 stories, but they were only permitted to go 4 at the time. I would have liked to have seen 5 stories. And oddly enough, my main reason for that is it would have given a little bit more density. But the main thing is it would have blocked the cell tower. If you notice, if you're coming north on Mount Jet Road and you look over, all you still see peeking out above that is that cell tower. And I just always had an issue. I love cell towers, and I know they're needed, but they're just not the, now if you build a cell tower in Mount Jet, they have to be disguised. That was before that, and so it just looks like a typical cell tower, and to me, it's a little bit of an eyesore. So one more story on the Vending Station North would have made the difference. So it's that, and we do still have some hotels looking. I can tell you if there's a hotel that was to go on that site, it would have to be a unique hotel. Your typical hotel, like you get up around the interstate or something that most people would stay in, probably wouldn't do well there. So this would have to be a unique hotel, sort of like what they do at the Christmas.
Sidewalks on Mount Juliet or Lebanon Road.
Yeah, the sidewalk project's still moving along. I think they just got delayed for some reason. It's not a city issue. They should resume work here real soon. And as a matter of fact, the engineering work for the second phase of sidewalks, that should be issued to somebody real soon, which will start the engineering and design work for the next phase, which will take those sidewalks even further down. So they're still moving forward. There's no issues here at the city that I'm aware of that's holding them up. I think it's just their own timing.
I certainly appreciate the city wanting to do whatever they can to help our businesses. You have a unique situation, and I'm surprised it didn't come up sooner. But tonight, for those folks that don't know, to get a beer license in Mount Juliet, there's a requirement that a certain percentage has to be non-beer or liquor sales. And if someone can't meet that over a short period of time, they can lose their beer license. And that has happened to one of our newer restaurants that I think is, and I think most would agree, they're really trying to do it right. But the COVID forced them to shut down 50% of their seating, and they fell short of selling enough food to meet the rules. So they had their beer license taken away, which I'm going to guess makes it even more difficult to keep their doors open. Tonight, you all will be, in a sense, judging the fate, if you, not you, the commissioners, they'll be deciding the fate of Cat's Bar and Grill. And I know that's on the agenda tonight. Do you have a sense of what the idea, what the thinking is there and what might be able to be done?
I do, yeah. Those reports that are submitted by the businesses, the reason they did this years ago, and my hope personally is that they'll tweak that number from the 80-20, because even in the old days when business was prospering, it's hard to make the 80-20. So maybe they'll tweak that somewhere to make it a little bit easier for the business. It was put in place basically years ago to keep the city from getting taverns or beer joints, as you'd say, from the old days. So the intent was good, but nobody ever anticipated a pandemic that would make it almost impossible sometimes for people to want to eat. But oddly enough, sometimes people just want to get together and socialize and have a few drinks. That was keeping them from meeting their food ratios to drink ratio. And so I think what's going to happen tonight, and I hope that happens, is that they give them an extension for like 124 days, I think. Gets us a little bit further down the road and gives us an opportunity maybe to tweak that ordinance. Because I call her Miss Cat, but the Cat's Restaurant, when we first started working there, as everybody remembers, they came out of Antioch. They were quite successful there for a long time and chose to move here. So we want all our businesses to do well, but of course the beer board, to their defense, and the city, is we just had to follow a monthly process and get this information before the beer board. And so we're looking to try to give them an extension so that they won't face this consequence. So I feel pretty good about it. I feel like the commission will understand that, especially in these tough times. And my hope is that they'll give the extension and then look at tweaking the ordinance.
When you'd stepped out a minute ago, we had somebody ask if you're able to say where a Jeremiah's is going to be located.
Well, they're looking, and I feel good about it from talking to the owner of the property, Mr. Sellers, but they would go right there in the Sellers station, or right there where the Christmas store is going, in that area. And if you look them up on their website, currently they're only located, I believe, in the state of Florida. So it looks like a pretty fun place. And I'd mentioned last Monday about the song. This first thing comes to mind, if you're old enough, is you think about Jeremiah's, and then their logo's a bullfrog. You think of the old song back in the day. I don't know if it was Three Dog Night or who it was, but I may be aging myself just a little bit. I mean, for 35 years old, it's how, I still like listening to the oldies.
Eddie, nod your head if that's good.
Is that good, Eddie? But
I
I
thought
hate that I lost you guys. It sort of caused me to lose my rhythm, man. I was on a roll.
That's all right. Hey,
There's some other stuff that I know that I'm leaving out. Dr. Kalen's building is coming along real well over there. It's going to be a gorgeous building. That'll free up some space in the bottom of the building that he's in now. We've got people already looking at that. It's just some exciting times. You look at the little building where the care clinic's going up there beside Firehouse Subs. If you guys know where that's at, up close to Summit, over in the Providence area, Firehouse Subs, and you got that new little building that's going in the dip, the valley there. That's going to be a care clinic. So I'm excited about that. There's still some work going on at the Capital City Market. There's a little bit of an issue there with an old, I guess it would be a letter of credit on that piece of property beside Slim Chickens and the Capital City. If we can get that worked out with the current property owner, I think we'd have a potential tenant going there, purchase that property beside that, and pull all that in together. And what that is, it enables us to put a road, or not us, the developer, to be responsible for that, but put a road from Capital City that ties in behind Slim Chickens and the other places and comes in at the light. I think that having that attachment there would bode well, because if anybody remembers the old Capital City Market, it's really tough to get in and out, especially if you're wanting to go back south on Mount Jarrett Road. So I'm excited about that. There's so many other little things I didn't get into this morning, especially on Golden Bear, especially with the residential developments like Bradshaw Farms and Winfield and all that. If you drive around the city, just some beautiful developments going in. People traversing our city every weekend looking to move here. The census is going on. I feel really good about that. I think we're at about 65 to 70% here, which is higher than most communities for people submitting on that. I hope we end up having everybody participate in that, because it's so important for our community. And tonight there's just so many good things on the agenda, and everything that's on there, including our assistant chief position for the fire department. I hope all that gets passed and is positively supported. We got the renderings in for the new fire station on Lebanon Road. What's good about that is all the design work's been done. It's ready basically to go to bid for construction. So the next thing you should see on Lebanon Road at the new fire station site by the Green Hill High School is a new fire station started. So what's exciting about it, we got thanks to people like Ray Render and Susan Lynn and Pody and the government, the city was able to get about $818,000 in grant money that could go to certain things like, one of the things is a hardened dispatch for the police station, generators for the police station. Everybody knows if you get a tornado storm, the power goes out. Those things have to be powered. And even more exciting, the new fire truck for the new fire department. So when you can get those things through a grant that you don't have to pay back to conserve your citizens, you're pretty excited about that. So to our elected body and to our staff and everybody else that was helpful in those things, thank you so much, because it's just another big step in the right direction for our city to make our city even safer. And just like what we did right after the tornado, we got the two side-by-sides because our community came together and pulled the funds together to buy these two things for the side-by-sides. To me, it's called gators, but their legal term or professional term is called side-by-side. So we got a couple of those. We got the grapple trucks. We got all the debris cleaned up. So I just couldn't be prouder of everybody that I see on the screen, everybody that's maybe listening out there, and everybody in our community. And I mean that sincerely, because it didn't take you long to listen to what you see on TV every day to realize just how blessed we are in this community. And I'll continue to say that because of people like yourselves.
Judy asked about a Bonefish or a J. Alexandria's type restaurant. It's usually density and population, and something like Providence Central has Bonefish on down the road written all over it, I think.
Yeah, yep, she's exactly right. And Mark, you're right as well. We were actually working with Bonefish Grill before the COVID hit. So again, those types of restaurants, because of what was going on, everything sort of went idle. But I do think that that's going to come back just as soon as we can get through this COVID. And together we'll get through it. They'll come up with a vaccine. We'll get this behind us. But I love what I'm seeing in the interim is that we're not just giving up. Everybody's digging in even deeper and working even harder. So to Miss Judy out there, yes, those are the exact types of restaurants that we're reaching out to. And when you get sales tax numbers of $435,000, we want to brag that up, not because it puts a little bit more money in our coffers than what we'd expected, but simply because it lets businesses know this is the place that you want to possibly bring your business, because you're going to prosper here. And, unfortunately for some communities, they're not necessarily seeing those same numbers. So we're doing something right here, as we've always done, and we're going to continue to do that. And hopefully as we get toward the end of this COVID, or continue to work hard to do the things we're doing to prevent one another from getting infected or sick. And I'm seeing a lot of that I'm very proud of as well. I mean, everybody wants to do the right thing, and through education, we can definitely get there and working together.
Yeah, it was quite exciting this week when the governor came out and announced that Amazon was going to Mount Juliet, and I think that was probably the worst kept secret in the history of development. We started calling it that on October 28th when it passed last year, and they broke ground. But there was another question, a quick update on the Shunks property, the putt-putt.
Yeah, I've been talking to Jimmy, and I'm not sure that ultimately that piece of property, the city's considering probably about somewhere between 7 to 8 pieces of different property across the city. That was one of the pieces. It's still being considered, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't become park property, he's still looking at doing the townhome project, if everybody remembers that being talked about. So that's still moving forward. And I don't want to say that it's at a standstill by any means. When I talked to Jimmy, I think he was hopeful it could be park property, and we'd like to see it park property as well. But at the end of the day, if it's not the best piece, we won't do that. But regardless of what happens, something's going to happen there. It'll be a blessing. I was also going to mention, since we talked about Amazon, is we actually have lots of other companies that are reaching out to the city. One would be on Blenda Parkway. It's a refrigeration type company, and they're very, all they could tell us is this company is very closely connected to and does business with a company that has a smiley face on the box. So we sort of know what that is, I think. So we're starting to see a lot of companies that are reaching out to the city that want to be in Mount Juliet as a result of what happened at Amazon. And you got a picture when that building's done and there's employees there and the traffic count goes up. What better place for the traffic count to go up than on a road that was built for traffic? That interchange was put in to be developed, and to be developed in the right way, of course. So what better thing to have high-paying jobs, and I think we'll see more come, than, just imagine when it's open, what it's going to look like out there, as opposed to what it does today. And if you drive down through there, I want to give them a shout out. That tornado came through, it took out a lot of trees, and there was a lot of metal in the trees. If you go through there today and you look at that entire west side of Golden Bear, that's between Siva all the way down to Amazon, you'll notice that they're doing all the underbrush clearing on the bottom and taking out all the old trees that were dead and had fallen, and all that metal. And they're giving it a park-like setting, which enhances that area, in my opinion. If you've been down through there, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, take a drive down through there and realize what it looked like back in March, and what a big section of it already looks like, and what it's going to look like when they're done. And then what it's going to look like when the greenway's extended down Golden Bear as well. And if you notice too, our pad that was provided as part of this Amazon development, there's a 5-acre tract across the street that's basically pad ready for a future fire station or whatever it is the city ends up putting there. And they also did the same for the county. So at some point you could see a WEMA station out there and a Mount Juliet fire station. So that's the kind of good partnerships that you get when these developments come to town. They bring so much with them. They bring parks, they bring greenways, they bring new traffic signals, they bring new road improvements. You out there now, you're seeing the decel and that turning lanes that are being made that, to me, make the road even better.
It looks really nice out there. They thinned it all out, and it actually has a park look to it. So I don't see any other questions. Marla, if there's no more questions, I'll leave everybody with a couple of final thoughts. I encourage you to, if you've never been engaged or involved with the Chamber Golf Tournament, it's Thursday, October 1st. We're hoping to have the biggest and best and actually just the most fun golf tournament that we've ever had. And there's a place for everybody. Don't forget, you got another week this week for early voting. On Thursday, we're doing our first in partnership with Goodall Homes. And it could be the first of the way we do it in the future, but a virtual ribbon cutting. I will tell you that some of the filming and production's already been done. Thursday. Humorous, tune in, and kind of take a peek at what the future might hold for us. On a sad note, Alicia, as you know, has accepted a position as the principal at the new, or the school secretary, excuse me, at the new Green Hill High School across the street from where she lives. She's going to get to go to work where her daughter goes to school. And we're really, really excited for her and for her family. Amazing opportunity. Come by. Marla's making some of the famous Cochrane cupcakes for us tomorrow from 10 to 1. If you're out and about, if you stay on the other side of the door, we won't even take your temperature, but we do have cupcakes, and come by and say goodbye or see you later to Alicia. As always, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, be sure to get out. If you're going to shop local. Chamber website's a great place to start. So if nobody has anything else, tune in next week or next month when Kenny's here. Kenny, I'll make a note to, there will be a planning commission meeting between now and then. Maybe we'll have an update on a couple of these residential developments that have proposals in the pipeline. Maybe we'll know more by the next time you come back. Sound all right?
Yeah, and hey, I lost everybody this morning. I apologize. I don't know what happened. I had to go back out and come back in. So I'm not sure what I did on my end. I'm sure it's me. But thanks, everybody, for what you're doing. Appreciate you tuning in. Makes me feel good when I see you all here. And maybe I'll have an even better update the next time we're in.
Kenny, call me this afternoon. I have a quick question about tomorrow morning.
You got it, buddy.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.